You
So
know,
the
that
ages we're kind of looking at, like kind of being more concerned and more involved. What would you say they are as we start to kind of look at this? We're letting ourselves chill and relax, the parents of the younger kids, and make
hmm
things more fun and interesting, right? Because we want to keep that
yes.
spark of learning. At what ages are we starting to say, okay, let's get more involved, get more concerned?
I think you'd want to start to keep an eye on it in middle school, but without a really tight window.
Okay.
Because there's still time, right? Because look, for a lot of kids, I don't know what percent, but the vast majority of high school kids going into high school are their basic goal is to get out of high school and go to college. Okay. I mean, for the most part, that's basically what our system has grown into. There's obviously other options, but so by the time they're in 10th or 11th grade, especially the end of 11th grade, a lot of that story's been written. They've got their grades. That's going to be their transcript. They're going to start doing applications in any year. This year's wacky, but it's still what it is. So if you drop the ball on your grades in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, has a much bigger impact on your life than it would have any other grades up until that point. Ninth grade is always a little bit of a slippery slope because it's a transition year. Typically, you're moving from middle school building to a high school building. You're now the youngest kids in the building. They're the oldest ones in the old building. There are a few 7, 8, 9 high schools or junior highs. But so there's a socialization that happens in ninth grade that I think sometimes you have to give a little bit to. But certainly by late ninth grade, and certainly into 10th grade, I think this is where the potential downside of poor performance really can put a kid back. And of course, in the moment, kids aren't thinking long term. Kids not sitting there in the middle of 10th grade going, oh, if I get a D on this test, it's, I'm not going to get in a pen or whatever. But frankly, it's the pattern of that thought process that's going to get them into the wrong way things are going to work out. And by the time it's done, a year and a half later, it's too late. And I'm definitely not sitting here saying every parent should be on top of their kid every single day, making sure that they're incredibly perfect students. I'm just saying that because the monitoring that normally would happen in a classroom isn't really happening remotely, it's sort of by default incumbent on somebody else to do it. I think most parents are saying, well, my kid's old enough. They get it. They're this, they're that. I don't need to babysit a 16, 17-year-old. That's probably should be true. But there is a fraction of that population that really isn't capable of working as independently. And comparatively speaking, I think they're the ones that are taking a little bit of a bigger hit in terms of academic performance and maybe opportunities down the road. And I think that's where the parents want to be aware of what's going on.
Okay, so that's where we want to step in. We want to be a helper. We want to be a support.
Yes.
We don't want to be
Not a
like
fight.
a
No.
heavy hand
No.
here. We don't want to fight. We want to be a helper. We want to be support. We want to support them and
The
doing the
word,
best they can
the
do.
fancy word would be an advocate.
An advocate, yes.
Yeah, advocate. How about
Beautiful.
that? Fancy word. But that's really what you want. The parents should be advocating for their child's success. The kids don't always appreciate that you're advocating for their success, but that's really what you're doing. And part of that is, there's a tough love aspect to it, right? And there's a practical piece to it. And there's a piece to it where you're trying to foster a teenager becoming an adult, behaviorally and responsibility wise. And that's part of what school is. Essentially a 16, 17-year-old, that's their job. Some kids have jobs, but their main goal is to do as well as they can in school.
Yeah.
Parents' job is to give them the environment to do it.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Ianla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.